Hi, everybody. A quick sound check. Can everybody hear me okay? Loud and clear? Okay, good. Okay. My response. Gear me, you're late on the bow, my friend. I saw that. Everybody was up and you just then got you must be on delayed entry there. I just thought I'd point that out. So today we are doing at the end of chapter 8, page 79, Norito. And I wanted to do a special class just on Norito for a few reasons. A lot of people usually have a lot of questions about Norito. Sensei's always answering, well, what's the purpose? What's the meaning? What do we do with it? How can I learn it? Et cetera, et cetera. So I figured I would cover it. First, I'm going to read you a little something. Uh, Chanting is a ritual that introduces meaning and purpose into one's life. Anyone, anywhere can sense connectedness. Chanting settles the mind and connects you with the group. We engage in this ritual in order to nourish and awaken a deeper part of ourselves, a part that intuits the existence of something greater than your everyday mundane experience, a part that longs for greater intimacy and connection with life and with other beings. Ritual circumvents our rational and discriminating mind. So I know a lot of times at the end of seminars, when we have a big misogi and then afterwards we're all getting together, people will go, "Oh, that's a good misogi," or "Wow, I had a different experience, normal than my other experience, which is with a small group." A lot of times you'll have 9, 10, 11, 12 people, but then when you get a big group together of over 30, 40, 50 people, the dynamics change and people seem to notice that change. So I thought I would just open it up. I can give you some stories about it, but I figure, we can ask some questions if you guys have any questions about Norito. I will say that, a few years ago, uh, Curtis Sensei and I flew to Honolulu and we met a guy who owns a professional studio and records musicians. And what we did there is we had Sensei do Norito and tell a little bit about the history of Norito, do Norito, and then do it in a teaching format. And then we made CDs. So you could buy the CDs from Maunki Aikido, learn about Norito, learn how to do Norito. And in fact, even in the little cover of the CD, we had the Norito all printed out so you wouldn't have to go to your book to read it. It was right there at the CD cover. I have to say, it's very handy. If you ever want to learn Norito, it'd be something you should have because it's the next best thing. I mean, the best thing, of course, is to be around Curtis Sensei and, like myself, who not completely, uh, I haven't completely done it to his satisfaction yet. However, I have done it. I have taught a few seminars on the mainland, and at those seminars, I did do Norito at the end of the Misogi. And I know my best friend Mayumi was probably being nice to me, but she was like, "Wow, your Misogi was so good. I could understand every word in Japanese." And of course, that made me feel really good. But it never was it never has been to that point with Curtis Sensei ever saying that. I can, it's just, it's a whole different level when you're in the office. Like he would go, "Tracy, come in here and sit down." And then he'd hand me we have it, the Norito on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that's laminated, and he'll hand it to you and go, "Please recite." And he'll just sit there and close his eyes and listen to you, as you Takama Nohara Nikamutsu Marimasu, you go through the whole thing like that. And of course you get a little, jumbled up, and he'll listen to it and then he'll go, "Okay," and he'll give you corrections. So you don't have that with the CD, of course, but you do get to hear him uh, do it and hear the rhythm of it, which is like the most important part because um, many of you don't know that, they do, this came from the Ichikukai School of Misogi in Tokyo, which is Yamaoka Teshu's top students formation. He created this in honor of his teacher. And, like I said last week, it's performed a little differently there than it is. Toy Sensei changed how it was performed midway through. If you go, a lot of chanting is done syllable by syllable. Ta kama nahara ni kamatsu mori. Like that, with the sokobuku clacking, after each chant, just like you chant any kind of sutra. This Norito is chanted more like, instead of uh, by printing, it's sort of done cursively. It's done with rhythm. Takama no hara ni mat kamutsu marimasu, like that. So it's kind of like a song almost. And everybody has their own little rhythm, but you get into the certain rhythm of the universe, and it really allows everyone to come into connectedness with it. I was so interested in Norito that I bought a book called Shinto Norito, and it actually has the actual meaning of what we're saying. And I thought, here's me. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who buys a book on etymology, which is this book that tells you where words come from, and it's about this thick. I buy that. Just think, okay, if I can learn the source of the words, I'll be able to figure this out. But actually, you can't figure it out. It just doesn't work that way, But I had in my mindset at a very early age in my training that if I bought this book, I could figure out where the words come from, the source, whether it be Latin or Arabic or wherever it was, and that I'd be able to do it really well. And yeah, so that didn't work. So I bought this book, still on that juncture of, if I know what the meaning of Norito is, well, that, of course, if you know the why, then obviously you'll then be able to perform it, execute it perfectly with no problems. I was wrong. So that being said, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Norito. And did you even know that we had Norito CD? And if you do, if you're interested, have you ever practiced Norito? What's your thoughts on it? I'll start off with John.
Hi everybody. Hi Sensei. Thank you very much. Um, I have not. I attempted to do Naruto with Joni Sensei, but it was yeah. It I didn't know the cadence. I didn't know the rhythm, and so it was a big mess. That was just that one time, and I did not know we had a CD for that Sensei recorded. Is that at the dojo?
It is.
Oh,
It is at the dojo. Yes, you can actually buy it.
oh, I okay. Well, that's good to know. Um, yeah, I think there's something special about chanting that, like, you know, uh, it's not something mental that you can think about. It's just something you feel and listen to. So in a way, you're uh, engaging 100% in a way. But yeah, that's all I've got to say.
You're a professional chanter there, John. How did they teach you chanting in the monastery?
Well, we did it over and over. It was just practice every day. So every day in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening.
Right. Right around mealtime?
Yeah.
Right after or before?
Before.
Before, yes. Before each meal, you do your chants. And you did, of course, probably what? The Heart Sutra. What other ones did you do?
Um, Amida Kyo, which is
Right.
the Sutra of Infinite Life and Light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I really pushed for Sensei to do a recording for, this. And I set him up with the guy because I knew the guy in Honolulu to do the recording. And it really worked out really well. I'll never, that was a really memorable time for me going there. And, he's, in the sound booth, and it's just him. And then it's me and the engineer who's mixing it and recording it, on the outer thing, and listen to him going, okay, let's do this take. Okay, let's do it one time. And, it was really interesting because, of course, everybody, it takes, you got to get into the realm, and being in a sound studio and doing it is much different than being at the dojo with everybody around you. It's a little different. So you really have to, it took Curtis Sensei, I think, one take to really get into the groove, to really get it out there. And the second take was perfect. It was really good. And that's the one I believe that got recorded and is on the CD as the first take, or the second take. Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, yeah, I have another story, but I'll hold back and wait for somebody else to comment. Gloria Fulstrom, you look like you wanted to say something.
Good evening, Sensei, and everybody. Um, well, I didn't actually, like John, I had no idea there was a CD of it, and it would be interesting to have it just to listen to it. But in my background, chant is very important in music, um, and for several reasons. One is the Catholic Church and their monasteries and their uh, convents have used chanting extensively. And on one trip that I went on, we visited a monastery and actually went to one of their services where they chanted most of the time. The interesting thing was that the chanter or the cantor would chant a phrase and then the choir came in a quarter of a tone below that. It drove me absolutely crazy as a musician. Um, but there's a story of a monastery in France, and they chanted 6 or 7 hours a day. And they got a new young abbot who decided that he would change practically everything. First of all, they were vegetarians, and he started serving meat. He reduced the chanting to 2 to 3 hours a week, and within a few months, all of the monks were sick, some of them very sick. And so they called in doctors and they tried this and they tried that, different kinds of things. And finally, they called a Dr. Tomatis, who actually is a laryngologist, and he works with people on their voices. And he told him that he needed to put them back on their vegetarian diet and restore the chanting. And within 3 months, all of them except one were well again. So chanting actually has an effect on the body. If you sing, I mean, even if you don't carry a pitch very well, if you hum, your whole body is vibrating, you're making music. If you're speaking, it's a little different, but it's still, I think, the same thing. There's a lot about the regularity of the chanting. I think that in the monasteries and in the convents, the chanting is probably what prepared them for meditation, because you get into a different state when you do it for a while. And having participated in a few services where the choir was singing chant practically the whole way through, it does leave you in kind of a different space. I have heard Curtis Sensei do the Norito many times, and I heard Joni once when he was being treated for his vocal cord problem. And so it clearly, just listening to it, it takes a lot of practice. I think you have to really want to do it, but it'd be kind of fun just to listen to it, if nothing else, and just follow along and to see the rhythm of it, because I've always been a little fascinated with it, but I had no idea what he was saying or how he, there clearly was some sort of format he had to follow or some sort of rhythm, but it was hard to know what it was. So yeah, just that it's chant is an old tradition, and it's been a part of religion for thousands of years.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed your story. Yeah, just to give you an idea, I'll read from the book on some of the meaning of Norito. It's the prayer for purification through Misogi. That's the name of it, Misogi no Hara. Uh, in the expanse of high heaven dwell the exalted Kami. Kami is just God. By command of our divine ancestral Kami, the noble male Kami, and the august female Kami of heaven, our great ancestral Kami, Izanagi no Mikoto, performed Misogi at Ahara, Ahagihara of Odo and Tachibana of Himuka in Tsukushi of the ancient land. So it's actually about it's the basically the birth of the Japanese islands through Shinto. And Norito's of from the Shinto religion, and this specific misogi is kind of basically to purify and wash away. And I know that's that was important in the Shinto religion, and it was there's really no set religion of Japan. Like if you ask Japanese people what religion they are, you know, you'll get many different answers. Um, Christian is very small population there. Like 1 to 2% probably, and then you'll get people that are no religion or Shinto. They may say some will say Buddhist, but then there's very different sects of Buddhism. So you get a real cross pollination of religion. Like they'll go to a temple to get married, but then they'll get which is Shinto, but then they'll get buried by a Buddhist minister. So it kind of, they kind of cross pollinate in the sense. And O Sensei, who was a big time, he was really big into kotodama, which is the sound of the syllables, the sound, the vibration of chanting, and his chants were totally different because he was a different, he was of the Emoto Kyo religion, which is, I don't even think it exists. It may exist, but it's really small group of people. So it's, O Sensei wasn't a Buddhist. He was more into Shinto and Emoto Kyo. So everything he comes from is coming from that area of his background, where Toi Sensei was more into Buddhist and Zen, and he brought that aspect to Aikido. So Aikido kind of as a cross pollination of both Shinto, Zen Buddhism, and Emoto Kyo, which, in the Key Society, we're pretty much all more influenced by Toi Sensei than anything else. But we have to remember that Toi Sensei had three teachers, not just Do Sensei. He had Tempu Nakamura, who was he had gone to India and Tibet and learned yoga. So he brought back all this yoga information, which is where we get all of our key training, because he was a part of the group of what was it called, of yoga, Japanese yoga, that he called the Tempu Kai. And he was a head of the Tempu Kai, and basically it's just meaning, group, the Kai, which is group of Tempu, which was his name, because Tempu Nakamura was very famous in Japan at the time. In fact, he's the only person that Suzuki Sensei did not meet when he went to Japan. He was the only person, and he was really bummed out. The day he was supposed to meet him, he was scheduled to go with Toi Sensei to meet him, but his wife had a death in the family, and he had to travel to southern Japan to do something with the burial, the ceremony of the death in the family. So he had to go down there, and he couldn't go and meet Tempu Nakamura, so he never got a chance to meet him. And then of course Ogura Sensei from the Ichikukai. So those were the three teachers of Toi Sensei. So Key Society really has a cross training of such, and this being a Shinto prayer, comes from the Ichikukai school. So Lillian, you seem really excited about this subject.
Actually, I was thinking, hello everybody. that it's really interesting because sometimes I feel like I have the memory of a goldfish, and you're filling in so much history and background on certain things that are kind of missing in information I've gotten, or if I knew at one point has since forgotten. And this is really interesting. And I was wondering what we were going to talk about with the Norito because none of us really know how to read it well. And I was looking over my shoulder earlier trying to see if it was in my stack of CDs because I have the Bocan and the Oneness Rhythm, and it looks like I may have missed that one. And a little while ago, I think it was this past year in 2019, Curtis Sensei had sent us the Norito in both kanji and English. And I really didn't get a chance to look at the kanji the way I had wanted to. And but I never really had a deep understanding as to why we did it. In fact, the first time I heard it, it kind of reminded me of Rap Reppelinger's roll call. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember Rap Repplinger, but yeah, and but it's really nice when he reads it at the end. I do feel more settled. It's like it really feels so good to finish off with the Norito. And I wish I think I will look for that, order a CD because I would love to learn that cadence, and learning about it tonight, I think is really going to help even with the, I don't know, deep sense of feeling when I'm doing misogi. So yeah, I am excited about this subject. It's cool. So thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, they did it a little differently at the Ichikukai school. I was, of course, when I first came to Maui, I was so interested in everything. I went down to their archives in their office, pulled out folders and folders. They have literally, we have minutes of meetings that go back to the 60s, right? I'm talking when they even earlier than that, because when they were preparing to host O Sensei, I was reading about the minutes of the meeting on how they were gonna, what they were gonna do, what they prepared for O Sensei and his visit, and et cetera, et cetera. So when I was down there going through all this archived information, I came across a folded up scroll, and it was one of those that expanded out like this, so it was about this big, but it was all folded out. So it looked like, I thought it was just a flyer, right? And it was in Japanese. I couldn't read it, but I'm very interested. So I go, oh, what the hell is this? And then I start looking at the Romanji, and I go, oh, this is Norito. And I went, oh, really? So I took it up there, right? And I show Suzuki Sensei, and he went, oh, yeah, that's Norito. I brought that back because we used to recite that in Japan. I said, used to recite Norito in Japan? And he said, well, not like we do here. We did it as a group. So at the end of the Misogi, everyone had this by them, and they would all whip it out, and then Toy Sensei would lead the chant with the Sokuboku. And it was, just like I said, Takama no hara ni kamatsu mori. It was just like that, syllable by syllable, and the whole group is chanting this Norito, of course. And he said that was very powerful. And he said, but however, it slowly began to change when he was there, because probably, I think Toy Sensei noticed that, unlike here, in Japan, that's still considered pretty religious. I mean, most dojos don't chant. In fact, they don't even do Norito anymore in Japan in the Ki Society. And that's verified by Shinichi Tohei Sensei, because when Shinichi Sensei came to Maui one year, I can't remember what year, where Suzuki Sensei was still alive, and we were all talking in the office one day, and I think either Curtis Sensei or Suzuki Sensei asked him if, oh, by the way, do you chant Norito? And he said, no, I don't anymore. I learned, but we don't do that in Japan anymore because it's considered maybe a little bit too religious. because it may put off some students, I guess. So they didn't want to make it that way. So they kind of quit doing it. He said, but you guys do it and please continue to do it. And, that was, Suzuki Sensei really took that to heart. And he kind of said, Kura Sensei, never stop doing Misogi and never stop doing Norito after it. And you must carry it on and teach people so that they can carry it on. Because that will always be a distinction of the Maui Dojo. So that was a big deal, but it was quite interesting, that they changed from everyone chanting, and then Toy Sensei started doing it, and then it became different in the rhythm. And the reason why is if you're chanting as a group, we're all chanting ta kama, we're getting that rhythm and it's coming from us. We're all in one voice, right? But if you're not actually doing the chanting, then it has to come across a little bit different. So the rhythm can penetrate your mind body, So that's why it comes off with a certain rhythm. Takama no hara ni kamutsu marimasu kamarogi kamaromi. It has that definite rhythm through it. So that way the group can absorb that rhythm through their mind body. And that, I believe now, this is just my speculation, but I believe that's why that was one of the reasons. And I think maybe Suzuki Sensei might have kind of said that to me in a sense, because that's how I got it, because I know I'm not smart enough to make that stuff up. Um, he really was into it. I mean, Suzuki Sensei was really into this. So therefore, Curtis Sensei is really into this, and it's really important. And that's why, I wanted to spend a whole, night on it. But anyway, Kayomi, maybe you can talk more about Norito. Have you been exposed to chanting before?
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I only know Norito is associated with Shinto. And today I looked at the kanji characters for the first time. It sounds like it's celebrating a poem or singing. And I have to read more about it. It just probably I've heard of it when I go to shrines, but I never really paid attention to it. For sutra, Buddhist sutra, when my father was ill, I went with my parents to visit 88 temples. I think it's called I can't pronounce it. Pilgrimage. I don't know. You go to the sacred place.
Pilgrimage.
Yes, yes. I did that to 88 temples. So every temple we went, we read the Hanya Shingyo, and that one is like a Buddhist chant. And first I had to read this paper. I think it what you are mentioning, like it's folded this way, but when you open it, it's bigger. And then I was reading it, but by the time we finished it, I think it came, and I could have maybe at least at the beginning I could have just memorized. I was able to say it, and then later on when my grandmother passed, I was here, so I needed to like I wanted to pray uh, for her. So I was reading the same sutra over and over, and then I felt very peaceful. And so I think I had a little understanding of how the chanting uh, helps us, our body and mind. Then after a while, I stopped doing it. Then I forgot again. I think I have to. It's I was memorizing it, but then I think the continuation is so important, like Gloria said. And now I probably have to read it again to say it again. But I'm not sure about Norito. I only we go to the shrine for celebrating life. So I probably went when I was a baby, and every New Year, and when someone married in shrines. That's what probably I heard.
Right.
Yes.
Well, first off, you never disappoint. I'm really happy. You never disappoint. Never say that.
I don't know, yeah, much about it, but
But that's
yes.
okay. That's okay. This class is for.
I
So.
really admire, people do Norito actually. That's wonderful to hear. It made me more curious
Oh
about
yeah,
my culture. Yes, thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, it's really interesting. So one. Okay, so let's see. I think yeah, this was the first time. This was this is the first time I was ever a tomo for Curtis Sensei as a Maui student. I'd always been as a tomo outside before I moved, like on the mainland, or like when he go to seminars and he didn't have anybody attending with him. I would always volunteer and kind of do that kind of thing with him. But when I came to Maui and moved here in 2003, I kind of asked him, which of course, big faux pas, never asked to do that kind of deal, but I did. And he said, oh, yeah, we're going to go to Hilo. You'll be my tomo. Okay, great. Well, guess what? I forgot his bag at the airport and he freaking didn't have a gi, and it was a total catastrophe because I forgot to bring the Norito because we got it print out, right? Got it all printed out and it's all in a it's sealed, it's laminated, and we always have to take it. This is before we had copies. We only had one copy or something. I don't remember, but I know I forgot it. That's all I remember. I forgot it. And we get to Hilo, right? I'm thinking, of course, I've already lost his bag. God forbid, I don't want to go, oh, since I also forgot the Norito, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do that because I'm thinking, how can I solve this problem? I need to solve this problem. How do I solve it? So Mitch, was it Mitz at the Hilo dojo, right? I go, Mitz, you got a copy of the man? Because I'm looking around for the copy of the manual because I know the Norito is in the manual. Positive, I know it's in the manual. I just need to find a copy of the manual. Somebody here at the seminar has got to have a copy of the manual. Nobody had a copy of the manual. No one, except Mitz. Oh, yeah, I have one. And he hands it to me, and I start looking at it, and I go, there it is. I go, I've got to photocopy this. This is before camera phones, you can't this is before any of this. I go, I got to photocopy this so I can get this printed out because I don't have time. I didn't even have a computer. This is before, I even had a laptop or anything. I'm thinking, okay, how can I get this made so that way it's ready to go on Sunday morning, right? I'm already trying to figure this out on Friday, right? Of course, I can't do that. So I have to break the news to Sensei, and I go, oh, Sensei, I also forgot your Norito. So, but I have the manual. It's got Norito in it. And he opens up and goes, yeah, okay, okay, I'll do that. So I tell Mitz, I go, Mitz, we're gonna have to leave this at the, right up at the thing, so Sensei can use it, da 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 da. And he agrees after loaning me his book. He loaned it to me for me to try to figure out how to copy it on a copier, but I couldn't figure that out. So he was asking for his manual back the next day, and I go, oh, yeah, Mitz, do you mind? I've got to break this news to Sensei, and I kind of work around, and he goes, oh, okay, yeah, we'll keep it up here at the Shomen. So I mark it. Of course, here's the thing. The rhythm is super important on Norito. And so therefore, when it's on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, it looks very different than what it looks like in the book because it's confined to like 2 pages in the book because it's so long. It's not 8.5 by 11, right? So of course, Sensei opens it up and starts it, and I can tell he's not happy because he's having to work. He's used to having it in a certain form in a certain way, and it's not that way. But he gets through. It's no big deal. But here's the kicker, right? I was waiting for him to come over and kind of get on me about not having the proper book, and the proper format so he could read it and it would be perfect. But here's the thing, and this is priceless. there I can't remember her name, but there was a little old lady who made the ondogi. Maybe you know Lillian, the lady who made the ondogis uh, at the Hilo seminar. I don't know, I can't remember her name, but she was an older lady. She was in their 80s or 90s, right? She was only like 4'10", and she kind of walks up to Sensei right when I could tell Sensei's going to intercept and he's going to get on me, right? She interjects right in front of me and says, "Oh, Curtis Sensei, I just want to let you know your Norito moved me. It reminded me," and just goes on the story about how him reciting Norito just moved her like the Reverend did back when she heard it at church, whenever back in the day. And it saved me from an ass chewing. I can tell you that much right there. So I'm forever ingrained to that woman for interceding right when I was going to get it, and telling Sensei it was the greatest thing she'd ever heard since sliced bread. And it just worked out for the best. It was just a great, after that, Curtis Sensei was very happy, of course, and there was nothing ever said of that ever again. And you're the first to hear it since. So anyway, Jan, you're there right now below Louie. I figure I might. Have you had any experience with Norito?
No, hi everyone. No experience with this. I was wondering, can you read it? Can you go ahead and go through it one time?
No. I'm not that good at it, and there's no way. This is going to be on YouTube, and I am not putting myself through that. But I would say you should buy the CD because it's done perfectly there. And
Okay.
it'll be much better than I could ever do on this situation. But thank you for asking.
Okay,
I
I'll
appreciate
do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alaria, you were laughing quite hard during my story. How are you tonight?
That was a great story, Sensei. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I thought you were going to say that you thought Sensei was going to come over and like hand it to you. And then he was going to say, "You know what? That actually really kept me on my toes. I'm glad that I had to it challenged me. I'm glad that I had to do it differently." But what actually happened was like way cooler. I don't even remember hearing the Norito in the handful of times I've done Misoki, and it might be because I never learned about it at all or what it was, so I probably kind of just forgot about it. Um, but it's really interesting, and I'm really glad we're doing a whole class on it because I almost asked about it last class because it was part of that chapter, and I had no idea what it meant or anything. And I was like, wow, I've never seen this before. And I tried to do a quick Google search to like find out about it. And from what I gathered, it's Shinto, and it's not just one writing, like there's a whole bunch of different ones. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's a combination of two different prayers, I believe. The last I looked, I read, it's in this book, the Shinto Norito book that I purchased a few years ago. Actually, I think I purchased it like 10 years ago. I don't even know if it's even in print anymore, but I mean, it's interesting. It gives you the meaning, but again, it really doesn't matter so much about what it means. It's the whole experience of it. And really, getting in the groove of that. I mean, it's kind of like, what Gloria said about music and about singing and about that kind of stuff is, we've been singing and dancing since, we were born, in a sense. And when we evolved, we did this kind of thing. It's been, this kind of ritual has, in one form or another, every religion has a form of chanting in it. Every single religion has a form of chanting. Some even have dancing. Some even have, all kinds of different things. And so this is no different. So incorporating this into our Misogi practice makes perfect sense to me. And I was actually quite shocked when Shinichi Toy Sensei said, "Oh, we don't do that because we don't want to put anybody off because it's kind of a religious thing in Japan," and I can see that, and people might think of it differently. They probably have some sort of prejudice or attachment or they don't want to be a part of that kind of stuff. So I can see that. And Toy Sensei or Shinichi Toy Sensei really wants to make Aikido uh, for everyone. There should be no person that can't do some part of Aikido practice, which, I have to say, our style of Aikido is very, very open ended that way. And we have many different things you can practice from, being a child all the way until, you're 90 or 100 years old. So, yeah, with that being said, Linda Sasaki Sensei, how's your Norito skills? Oh, you have to unmute, I think, there.
Okay, my Norito skills are Zippo. I do enjoy listening to it when Curtis Sensei does the chant. It kind of reminds me of what Kaomi was saying when you attend church in the Buddhist sutras, and they have sutras for many things. And when I was a child, I used to go to Jodo Shinshu, which was Hoppahonganji. And I don't have very many or any recordings of the Buddhist thing, but I do have a CD of Shinto. And it's an updated Shinto chant. And out of all of the chants that they included on the CD, I like Heart the best, Kokoro. And I played it for my aunt from Japan once, and she looked at me and she goes, oh, in Japanese, she said, that's kind of sacrilegious the way they did it. Because it is a modern updated, So yeah, it depends on what generation you are too.
Did Eto Sensei ever do Norito?
I'm sorry?
Oh, did Eto Sensei ever do Norito?
No.
Anybody on Oahu?
Not that I can remember.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, Suzuki
So
Sensei.
the CD that you and Jaro was speaking of, I missed that part. Is it something put out by the society?
No, it's put out by Curtis Sensei and the Maui Dojo. We recorded Curtis Sensei.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it was like how I have a CD of all these chants, Shinto chants that, some group or company put out.
No, it was, I pushed Curtis Sensei to do a recording. And I knew someone in Honolulu that was a professional recorder, like a professional engineer that recorded musicians in Honolulu. So we went to his studio and I put Curtis Sensei in a sound booth and he chanted it and we did a little CD and you can buy it at I think it's in our newsletter. You can get it. So,
good to know.
Yeah. So Guillermy, you're with us today, the late Bauer.
Hi, Sensei. There's a little delay here. But, yeah, so I think Curtis Sensei had requested Johnny to teach us at one point, and then I remember one time John was there, and Johnny had us all going through, and I did very well according to Johnny. So I was feeling very proud. And then a few weeks later, I think it was just me and a beginner student, and she completely crushed me. You did terrible. You did so good the first time. What happened? So I got maybe practice maybe 3 times with Johnny, and then I think you had mentioned about the CD before, but Johnny also mentioned to me about the CD. And at one point, I mentioned to Curtis, "Oh, I'm interested about Curtis Sensei. I'm interested about Norito." And he's like, "Get the CD." Get a CD, then you come to me. So I never got it the CD, but he told me, like go practice in the car, Then if you're okay, you know, then if you recite it all right, then I'll teach you. Um, mm, yeah, I did research a little bit, you know, about it, and I saw the same book that you're showing, Sensei, online. Yeah, I did was reading about the connection of Shinto. Yeah, I was actually curious about that book.
Well, anytime you can take a look at this, you know, before if you buy it. I mean, it's quite boring. I mean, it's quite boring book, to be perfectly honest. Unless you're really into Shinto and really into chanting and really into that kind of thing, then it's like an excellent book, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so funny, you know, Joni's experience with Norito. I remember we were Joni and I were talking one time, and I said, "Hey, Joni, have you ever asked her sensei to teach you Norito?" And she said, "No." I said, "Why not?" She goes, "Well, I don't think I can. I don't think he'll teach me. I don't think it's possible." She didn't think there was even a possibility. I said, "Oh, why don't you ask him?" I mean, I would. I mean, I mean, she was much higher in when I first got here. You know, she's much higher in rank, and I got a lot of respect for her. And I'm just like, you know, come on, why aren't you asking? You know, hasn't he started teaching somebody? What's going on? And she's like, no, that's not something. You know, no, that's not possible. But then later on, she said, you know what, I'm gonna ask. So she did, and guess what? She was the first person that Curtis Sensei taught, and she does it on Sundays when he cannot. And I think that's really good that she learned that. I mean, I think that's excellent. And I remember when I first heard Norito, I was living in Arizona, of course, and it was after Misogi, I think, that Curtis Sensei had performed, and he did Norito there for all of us. And afterwards, I remember emailing him after because he had left. I was like fourth queue at the time, and I emailed him and said, "Sensei, how can I learn to do Norito? Please, I need to be able to do this from now on. You know, at my dojo. You know, thinking I was going to do Norito in Arizona, right?" And I emailed him this, and he emails me back and says he said something of the nature of you have to hang for 50 years under the tree of life by your heels, and then maybe you'll get lucky and someone will teach you. You know, he said something like that, just like what, you know, totally mind bending, twisting thing to my fourth Q self. But anyway, so anybody else? Let's see. How about Vitaly? Um,
hello, Sensei.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. I never heard about Norito before today. When our class begins, I ask Google what is Norito and try to read in it, but I found only information about some Japanese anime about Narita. I understand it's kind of misogi, if I understand right. But I want to ask you, Sensei, to show again the book. I try to make a picture and to find it. Oh, sorry. And just a moment. Oh, done. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that's the book on Shinto Norito. It's basically a book of prayers, in a sense. And yeah, I remember when I also, you know, back in the day before this, I had the book. I was Googling and wanting to know. And I go to YouTube and go, okay, and I type in, you know, Takama no hara ni kamutsumo masu, and see what out would come up, right? And one time I got a priest, a Shinto priest, reciting the exact Norito we do, but his voice was super high pitched. His rhythm was very piercing. very different. I remember sending it to Curtis Sensei, and Curtis Sensei, wow, very different style, but very effective in the same sense. It's kind of like, if you've ever heard O Sensei's Ki, it's really high pitched and not something like Toy Sensei's Ki is so different, and Curtis Sensei so everybody's Ki is so different in a sense, the way they harmonize their key energy through their voice, very, very different. And I know, that if you've gone to World Camp at any time, Shinichi Sensei usually has a class on counting, and he counts each, and he'll make people do each, and then each knee, and et cetera, and Curtis Sensei does that too. And what's really interesting is, since Curtis Sensei is a former actor, right? He had a professional voice coach when he was in New York City, and so he really learned how to use his voice very well. And he would often, have classes on Maui with how to use your voice, how, he would ask everyone to, one day he came in and he handed the sokuboku to the first person and said, hit it one time. And they hit it and then passed it down the line. He had everybody hit the sokuboku one time. And the differences in the sound, same sokuboku, everyone's got the same one, but the different sound was so different on who was extending ki, who wasn't extending ki, who was separate from the sokuboku, etc. It's the same thing with your vocal cords. We just don't think of it that way. We think of a vocal of, oh, I am this voice, but you have to learn how to master your own voice. It's not something that is just everyone has a master voice. They actually have to learn it through their breath. That's why breathing is so important, because it actually allows you to master your own voice, so I don't know if anybody else, Lucky or Charlotte, would like to say anything. Your video's off, but if you want to say something, you can pipe in. Don't necessarily have to turn on your video, but if you don't, that's fine. I do have something to close the class with. And this is a quote. I'll go ahead and read it. Rise early in the morning to greet the sun. Inhale and let yourself soar to the end of the universe. Breathe out and let the cosmos inside. Next, breathe up the fecundity and vibrance of the earth. Blend the breath of the earth with your own and become the breath of life itself. Your mind and body will be gladdened. Depression and heartache will dissipate, and you will be filled with gratitude. And that is a quote from O Sensei Morihei Ueshiba, who's actually quoted in this book, which blew me away, actually. So anyway, so I'll just give you a little heads up. Next week's class is the last class of the year for Mondays, and it will be a free-for-all. It'll be an open class. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. It will not be based on the Maui Ki Aikido book, because the next chapter is chapter 9, which is Aikido. And I want to go into that in depth. So I figured I'd start the new year off with that class, which will mark probably 3 or 4 classes just on that one chapter, because it's a big chapter. So since it's such a large chapter, I didn't want to do one part of it this year and then have a break and then start it next year. So since that is the case, I decided, and Curtis Sensei approved, that I could do a fun class next Monday with whatever we want to do. So come with questions or answers or solutions or, whatever you want, and we'll discuss it. And then next year, when we start class, it will be chapter 9. Sound good to you guys? Are you guys up for it? Okay. All right. Oh, John?
Yeah, just to clarify, that's January 4th, Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be the first class. I believe it's on the schedule. Curtis Sensei sent an email out, and there will be reminder emails, I know, going out after the end of the year. So, and all of you Just to give you a heads up as well, I'll be teaching this Friday's class, and I have yet to decide the topic we'll be discussing on Friday, but it'll be something fun, I'm sure. And other than that, I have nothing else. So thank you all very much. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Kirmi was on time this time. Good job. Anyway, have a nice evening, and I'll see you guys on Friday, hopefully.